Did you know that Niels Bohr, the famous physicist, was gifted a house with free beer for life when he won the Nobel Prize? Talk about perks. Imagine having an endless supply of beer whenever you want.
Did you know that the Thomson family has not one, but two Nobel Prize winners? J.J. Thomson won the Nobel in physics back in 1906 when he showed that electrons were particles. But the story doesn't end there. His son, George Paget Thomson, won the Nobel in 1937 for showing that electrons are actually waves. It's incredible how this father-son duo made groundbreaking discoveries about the nature of electrons. Science truly runs in their blood. In 1952, Wernher von Braun, a renowned scientist, wrote a book called Project Mars. And guess what? He imagined that human colonists on Mars would be led by a person called Elon. Yes, that's right, Elon. It's fascinating how even back then, the idea of colonizing Mars was being explored. It just goes to show how visionary minds have been dreaming about the future for decades. So, next time you think about Mars, remember, Elon might just be leading the way. So, get this, guys. Did you know that Albert Einstein was not only a genius but also had a great sense of humor? Yeah, I'm serious. People would stop him all the time in public, mistaking him for himself. And you know what he would say? He'd be like, "Pardon me, sorry. Always I am mistaken for Professor Einstein." Can you imagine? The man was a legend, and he knew how to handle all the attention with grace and a touch of comedy. So, picture this: Alfred Nobel, the inventor of dynamite, gets a glimpse of his own obituary before he kicks the bucket. And let me tell you, it wasn't pretty. He was called the Merchant of Death and all sorts of horrible things. But instead of sulking, he decided to do something incredible. He dedicated his fortune to creating the Nobel Prize. Yeah, that's right. The same Nobel Prize that honors the greatest minds and achievements in the world. Talk about turning a negative into a positive, right? Alfred Nobel, you're a legend. Did you know? Marie Curie's lab papers from the 1890s are still radioactive. Yep, you heard that right. They're stored in lead-lined boxes, and if you want to take a peek, you better gear up. It's like stepping into a sci-fi movie, but this is real life. Did you know that Isaac Newton, the famous scientist, actually set out the colors of the rainbow that we memorize today? But here's the interesting part: he originally didn't include orange or indigo. He only added them later because of his belief in the occult. Newton thought there must be 7 separate colors, just like there are 7 notes in a musical scale and 7 days of the week. So next time you see a rainbow, remember the fascinating story behind those 7 vibrant colors.
Did you know? Nikola Tesla, the brilliant inventor, had some interesting quirks. While he openly expressed disgust for overweight people and even fired his secretary solely because of her weight, he had a soft spot for injured pigeons. He would bring them into his hotel room and nurse them back to health. In fact, he once spent over $2,000 to fix a pigeon's broken wing and leg. Talk about a unique character. Did you know this interesting story? Linus Pauling, a Nobel Prize winner in chemistry, had some controversial views. He believed that people with defective genes should have visible marks, like forehead tattoos, to discourage them from having children with the same defects. It's a shocking idea, right?
Did you know? Schrödinger, the famous physicist, didn't actually believe in the whole dead and alive cat thing. His thought experiment was meant to criticize the absurdity of the existing view of quantum mechanics. You see, he wanted to show how ridiculous it was to think that something could be in 2 states at once. So next time you hear about Schrödinger's cat, remember, it's not about a cat being both dead and alive, but rather a clever critique of quantum mechanics. Mind-blowing, right?
Did you know? Albert Einstein, the genius behind the theory of relativity, had a surprising second greatest idea. He figured out a way to cook soup and get a soft-boiled egg at the same time without needing an extra pot to wash. How? By simply adding an egg to the soup while it's cooking. Talk about efficiency. So next time you're making soup, why not give Einstein's trick a try?
Did you know? There's this British scientist, Dr. Ian Walker, who did something pretty hilarious. He rode a bike with an ultrasonic distance sensor to see how close cars would pass him. But here's the funny part: he wore a wig to look like a woman. And guess what? Cars gave him about 6 inches more space when he was wearing the wig. Why? Well, it turns out drivers passing from behind thought he was a woman.
Did you know? Back in 1919, scientist Robert Goddard faced ridicule for his belief that man could reach the moon. The New York Times even mocked his understanding of basic physics. But guess what? They had to eat their words when Apollo 11 launched. The very next day, they published a correction. So remember, never let anyone discourage your dreams. You never know what you're capable of until you try.
There's this incredible agricultural scientist named Norman Borlaug. He developed new strains of crops that produced 4 times more food than before. And get this, he saved the lives of over 1 billion people. Can you believe it? This man is one of the most influential figures in human history. His work revolutionized agriculture and helped feed the world.